prizes most.
The Vagooch abides.
The Vagooch is loose.
The Vagooch comes around once a year, maybe
It's
twice.
Vinny the horse. Why are you always on a horse?
Hey, why don't we start this off right? You get your sips in. Little shippies. Shippies. I don't know if I can drink with this thing on.
I can't see with this thing on.
Try it.
It always reminds me of the Little Giants movie.
All right, that worked. That worked nicely. Yeah. All right. Well, Merry Christmas, everybody. Bring it home. Welcome to our season finale. You got oh, you want a red hat? You want to get that? Hold on, he's gonna grab one.
Right next to you.
Oh, that one's the A's. He's got a Santa hat. You're gonna bring that in. That's the Angels. What?
Just lost Shohei Ohtani.
Oh, it just lost a player. I'm not sure where. Sports and sport movies. You like that?
Shohei Ohtani.
Seen that? Doesn't this
You guys like sport ball?
Jesus. Those chairs got a weight limit on that.
Here, get up. I'll test it.
Doesn't this
Let's do a scientific experiment.
doesn't this thing make you think like Santa drinks Coors Light or something? He's like, what do you want for Christmas?
If Bert Kreischer was Santa Claus.
Yeah. Which, have you seen Bert? He's gotten in shape, dude.
Yeah.
If anyone's ever inspired me, like to actually, like, okay, maybe I can do that, it's Bert
It's Joe
Kreischer,
Rogan.
dude.
But if there's two, no.
But if there's two, maybe
If you see one movie this summer, see Star Wars. But if you see two, see Austin Powers.
Oh, dude, I'm trying to think of like what other movies lately that have come out that are like that kind of culture. Like, 'cause, I mean, do you remember you couldn't go anywhere without somebody that he's saying like, "Oh, behave," or like, "Yeah, baby," everywhere they went, dude. Like, do we have anything
Like
like
a
that
recent
now?
movie like that?
Yeah. Like how? I mean, do you remember being in theaters watching Goldmember and the absolute
Not
rocket
Goldmember. I remember being in theaters watching the second one.
watching Shag,
The Spy Who
Spy
Shagged Me, yeah.
yeah. But nothing else. I mean, nothing.
You can't release comedies right now. Not with the way the culture is.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
People quote like stand-ups more than they quote.
That's it. It's internet
the-
clips. It's
like the
Shane
Dave-
Gillis's.
like
It's
the Dave Chappelle
you know.
Yeah.
Gotcha, bitch.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the biggest. That's the big thing now with a lot of like social media. Is like, okay, we can't commit to an hour and a half, but we can commit to 15 seconds and like or 30 seconds, maybe a minute and a half
I don't
at
know.
most. But
Yeah, I spend a lot of time on YouTube, so I can commit to an hour and a half. I stream, for Christ's sake. I hope you guys can commit to an hour and a half. Cause
so you were saying you're done with Spider-Man. You want to move on to what? You're going to go to Donkey
I'll
Kong?
probably go to Donkey Kong. It's a very good game, but I think Donkey Kong is better. Donkey Kong sucks. You know something? You suck. Yeah, just going to go back to the SNES, and my plan is to keep kind of flip-flopping back and forth from a more recent game to an older game to a more recent game, unless you guys have something you want to see me play. Super Ghouls and Ghosts was a request, and when that request came in, I wanted to bang my head against my keyboard because I was like, no.
He got you good.
That game was.
Yeah,
terrible.
our own brother got me good.
I'm just going to text him and be like, suggest Home Alone. Suggest Home Alone.
Oh, jeez.
There's a Home Alone SNES
Yeah, it
out
sucks.
there.
Yeah, it
I saw-
sucks.
I watched the guy who played it. It's hard.
Terrible.
It's
I'd play the
terrible.
SNES game because it's a little bit better,
Okay.
but not by much.
There's a Sega version of it, which is apparently a little better. And like, you throw like snowballs at him. I think that's your like.
Yeah, you get like a squirt gun.
Yeah. It's strange.
Because that doesn't make sense at all.
Yeah, that doesn't.
There's no squirt gun.
That's
You
not
get a
canon.
BB gun.
Yeah, that makes sense.
We could do the BB gun. Yeah. Hello.
Dude, that's my favorite line for that movie.
I tried to sound clip that. I tried to sound clip it so I could have it on the board. That hello. I can't find it. I can't. I gotta reverse right from the movie.
You could ask Tyler. We'll be playing like zombies or something, and somebody will like join our party to like play with us, and I'll just
Yeah.
go, "Hello."
Oh man, well welcome to this episode of Nostalgia Land. This is our season finale. This is our last episode of the year. God, we started in July. And man, this has been a whirlwind. It's been really fun the last 6 months to do this with you guys. I can't tell you how much I appreciate
It's crazy that it's been 6 months of doing this.
Yeah, dude. Isn't that wild?
It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So far.
Yeah,
Thanks
so
for
far.
thanks for coming on the ride with us, because without you guys, we probably wouldn't still be doing it.
I like this so far part. It's like, next season I'm making it terrible. This is
Yeah,
going to
yeah, I
be
was
the most
gonna say, it's not
difficult
over.
thing.
It's not over.
This is going to be the most terrible, difficult thing
Yeah.
of your week.
I'm excited to I mean, we're going to just to make it clear what's going on, we're going to take a couple weeks off after this. Let Matt recharge his batteries, especially with how hard he's been going with editing and everything.
Wee bit.
If you hadn't noticed, we had an SD card situation that made for some interesting YouTube videos.
I'm not a
But
Charlie Brown character
Thanks for sticking
anymore.
with us and
This week.
and going through some technical difficulties with it. But I thought it turned out great with the animation that he was able to put together.
Yeah.
My head is a lot more proportionate. That's
You're the only one of us that looks normal.
It works well. Yeah.
I'm being interrogated right now.
How come the Charlie Brown character is the most normal looking one?
The most sensible character on the show.
It's just funny because like the program that you have to use to edit that, because I'm not expecting you to go through like 4 playthroughs to sync it.
Yeah.
So you use assistants to sync it.
Yeah.
But like every time I like cough or like clear my throat, the face would like pop up for half a second.
Yeah.
Like, go away.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's so many good things I can do with AI now. It wasn't a huge burden, but it was certainly the first time.
I think
for
if
me.
we ever do like The Simpsons or Charlie Brown, we should be those characters in,
I
the,
know
in
someone.
the episode.
That'd be cool.
I know someone who
Like
can
Simpsonify
anybody.
us.
who can simplify us. Yeah.
Some people have their own bowling ball and their own bowling shoes and no friends.
Have you seen that bowling? Sorry, side quest, but have you seen that bowling where it's someone like knocking down a 7-10 split or something like that, or 7 whatever it is. And like the one pin shoots across and it hits the other one, and the commentator goes, "Look at this pin action!" And then when the pin hits the last one, he goes, "Oh."
No, see, that's awesome.
You know what? That you were asking that question about the movies that gets quoted a lot.
Yeah.
It's that scene from the last Harry Potter movie. Where he's
which
in
one?
the woods and he's like, "Harry Potter, the boy who lived, come to die."
Dude, you know what I miss really, really bad? When you and I would do nothing all day, would send each other the Avada Kedavra memes, where it starts with the tiny little stick, and it's like a little twig. He's like, and then it gets to like the biggest, like a tree.
But that's actually the voice clip. When it gets to the biggest one, I feel like that's actually the voice clip.
He gets like a 2x4.
Dude, those
but, like,
movies are so
they even
good,
did an
man.
animated one where it's like that, because it's always like that scene played by X character, and like
Right.
like my favorite one is they did one where it's played by a trumpet. It's just like
Wow, dude.
That was really good.
That was really good. All right. So far we have you do a good Arnold, you do Winnie the Pooh, and you do the trumpet from Harry Potter.
As long as he doesn't yell a lot at football.
yeah. Don't worry, football season has cut my heart out for the last this season.
Maybe I should have you read like Night Before Christmas or something.
You know who does that like super well is Frank Caliendo.
Oh yes, I've seen him.
He'll always start as like Tracy Morgan. So he's like, "It was the night before Christmas."
That's really good. Yeah.
And then
You
he
can have
goes into,
Tracy your list.
and he'll have his daughter in the background like yelling out characters like RDJ, and he's like, "Well, I'm not a creature,
With starring.
probably me."
No, this is great. No, this has been so fun to do this
Soon
with
we
you.
gotta do like. We gotta
Yeah.
have like superhero day where we do like one superhero movie. 'Cause
Oh,
I feel
totally.
like to get to the MCU now, it's gonna take about 6 months.
Oh yeah, that'd be like a whole year.
Watch
on
them
MCU.
if we watched them in order. It
Yeah.
would, it would.
That's some
I
time.
think there's like 20 something movies.
True, man.
If you just
let's
go
talk
through like
about
the
the important
Avengers,
ones.
Yeah.
like the core Avenger ones.
Keystone, yeah, like key moments. Keystone, not
Keystone.
Keystone.
That's a beer.
Or a pipeline.
Don't I look like the Santa that would order
Keith Stone.
a Keystone? I'm
Keith
like,
Stone.
you got a pack of 20 for like $4 somewhere. Like
$94.
$94.
We're gonna have to make a shirt that just says
$94.
Nostalgia Land. $94.
For pizza.
By the way, this week's song that you can't get out of your head, it's one that I grew up knowing, and I have asked so many people, do you remember this song? And do you know this song? And no one else does. And I want to ask you guys if you remember this one. All right, here it goes.
Mamacita, ¿dónde está Santa Claus?
No.
¿Dónde está
So okay,
Santa Claus?
That's really weird. Okay, same household. You know this one, but you don't. Where do you know this from?
Married to a Cuban.
Nailed it.
And I know this before Cuban
No,
days.
we
yeah.
had to. One of the years that we were in the pageant, it was one of those like Christmas Around the World ones.
Oh God!
And they
okay.
always needed like kids to be the.
That's what we should do.
Because they need to. You got to stream them though.
Christmas pageant.
Yeah, but you got to stream it
Stream a
because nobody.
Christmas
Yeah, because
pageant.
nobody else is gonna know what
Oh
we're talking about.
no, we can't though. The legal copyright and all that. I got
Really?
I can tell you off air, but I can't tell you on air why we can't.
I didn't know
But
that.
There's a lot of legal issues behind it.
Can we just?
What we did.
Can we just like close up on our faces? Because that's us.
Maybe if there's no audio and there's no one, yeah, maybe we could do that. I can probably pull that together.
We're just gonna have to take stills.
Yeah, no, but I feel like even like saying that, oh, we're gonna stream that one day is making like the hair on the back of like about 5 different people stand up and be like, they're gonna send us to court.
Don't worry, we won't do it.
We'll blow in the playoffs. They will. We'll blow in the playoffs.
Don't worry.
It's another. Isn't that another Quaid role? They will blow in the playoffs. The guy from Major League. No, that's probably not.
Dennis
No.
Quaid and Randy Quaid.
Yeah, but he looks like Randy Quaid, but I don't think it is Randy Quaid.
Man.
No, I don't think so.
You know
Not
what I'm
Major
talking
League.
about in Major League, right? The the guys who are sitting in the stands. They're like,
Yeah,
"Hey
he
Johnny,
does kind of look like him, but
hey Johnny, maybe we should do one of those waves."
the one that's like, holy crap, it's him.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's from the second one.
Yeah. But
It's just
no,
the
it's
two
not.
guys
It does
doing
look
the wave.
the tall one looks
Yeah,
a lot
he
like
looks
he's a
like
Quaid.
him. Yeah.
I wonder if he is a Quaid. Like he's a brother, cousin.
Yeah.
It's like
You
a
know?
third cousin through marriage.
Yeah. He's disassociated.
And my
himself.
sister's father's former roommate.
What does that make us?
Absolutely nothing.
Absolutely not.
Which is what you are about
that
to
movie
become.
we will do one day.
Which one is
Spaceballs.
that? Spaceballs is great. Yeah, that
Dude, I saw his shirt on a graphic tee. I mean, in case you didn't notice, I like graphic tees.
Yeah.
But it just
And
says
I like stupid shit.
You like
it
Fly
just says
Spaceballs.
Spaceballs, the
The
T-shirt.
T-shirt. Merchandising.
My whole life is based on whatever Mel Brooks told me to do. It's like,
dude.
oh, what's this merchandise?
That's what we need.
Yeah,
That's what we need right now
we
in
need
society.
a lunchbox and
No, we need a Mel Brooks
Yeah.
that has the balls to go out there and make those movies.
Well,
that
did you see on Amazon Prime? He came out with a History of the World Part 2.
hasn't there always been a history? Of the
No,
World
there's
Part
only
two?
been History of the World Part 1. And then he did a preview to it, and that's where you get like Jews in space and Hitler on ice.
Dude. When in that scene in Blazing Saddles, where he's like, the sheriff is a dong, and then they're like, when he finally shows his face and the sign rolls up.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
one
he-
of my
he walks over,
favorite
he pulls
it- Dave
cinematic moments. Yeah, and he pulls it back down.
Is it Dave Chappelle?
No. It's a that was
Is he
long before
Men
Dave
in Tights?
Chappelle.
No, who's the?
Men in Tights is Dave Chappelle.
Yeah,
That is
Dave
Dave
Chappelle is like
Chappelle.
one of his
That's
first big
his Mel
roles.
Brooks.
Yeah, the one
Yes,
who has
Men
like
in
the
Tights. Yeah, he's Little John.
Yeah. But anyway, to this week, we are covering one of the funniest movies, I think,
That I had never seen.
that so many people your age have never seen.
I had never seen this movie until we started doing
You'd
this.
never seen it or never seen it in completion? Because I feel like
I'd seen the one clip that I'd seen.
Yeah, okay.
Is the clip of Jamie Lee Curtis taking her shirt off.
Jeez, dude.
And
Welcome to our first adult Nostalgia Land film.
I didn't show it.
No. But this is
just
the first movie that we're covering.
Oh, that
right?
has
this
nudity.
is
like an
this is
adult
our
movie.
This is our
Yeah.
And
It's
I
our
think
first R movie.
just so no, we have this on.
we haven't done an R movie yet. I feel
No,
like
we have not done a single arm. This keeps hitting the mic. I'm going to take this off. All right.
There's another Santa hat in there if you want it.
I might grab it in a minute. Yeah. Anyways.
I'd seen that scene because like that they show that in like compilations of like Jamie Lee Curtis like
Yeah.
that
He's
and
just in things you watch when you're a teenager.
the scene from True Lies because I've seen True Lies before with Arnold and
Oh,
she
yeah,
has
that's
that
a
big
sexy
scene in
scene.
True
Good
Lies.
Lord, Jamie Lee.
Until she
Yeah.
falls down.
Yeah, she falls down. Like, oops, fall down. Fall down, go boom.
All right.
And then I had seen the clip of Eddie Murphy playing the homeless guy where he's like, I can
Yeah.
see.
Dude,
Yeah.
I can
this
walk.
Eddie Murphy role. I mean, find me a wet noodle.
No. No one.
Maybe a couple of his friends, but that's probably by design.
They
Yeah,
are
yeah.
playing who they're supposed to be.
Well, the
Yeah.
guy with the glasses is like a famous actor. I feel like he's been in some of oh man, I can't think of
Is
his
it
name.
Troy?
It's
It's-
not another Troy, is it? No.
I had it on the IMDb, but
Get
I
out
think I
the-
closed it by accident.
Get out the IMDb.
You guys discuss.
In the meantime, I
We
was
are
at
doing-
Target.
Trading Places.
No, we're doing Trading Places.
yeah, I'd never seen it. I
Yeah,
had seen clips.
hadn't
but I'd
watched it.
never
John
seen
Landis
Yeah.
directed.
Yeah.
Who has given us Animal House. The
It
Blues
felt like
Brothers.
an Animal House movie in that way. Yeah.
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 Yeah,
There's
the-
some moments where I'm like,
There's
why
a
are we
Belushi
doing
in
this?
this movie, right?
There is a Belushi in this movie.
He's on the train.
Jim.
This
Yeah.
was right after, a few months after John had passed away.
Yeah, do you know how
Where-
many people like premise like, oh, is it? And they're like, no, the good Belushi. They're like,
I didn't
the
say
bad
that. I just said a Belushi.
No,
No,
no.
no.
Like,
I'm not
that's how
telling
it's
you.
referred
Yeah.
to at the
was
time.
No. They're like, oh yeah, like
was like,
oh,
hey.
oh, Belushi's in it. Which one? Oh, not the good one.
Yeah.
Oh.
The good one died.
Were Dan
No.
Aykroyd and John Belushi on SNL at the same time?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes,
Dan
they were,
Aykroyd
yeah.
and John Belushi were the Blues Brothers.
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right.
Yeah, Jim Belushi. No, John Belushi. Sorry.
Yeah,
Oh
Jim's
my
the one
gosh.
that's alive.
I don't want to get that wrong because I love
It's not. I mean,
Jim Belushi.
it's Jim and John. It's not like you're screwing up like Ferdinand
It's Jimmy
and
John.
Richard.
That's what it is. Yeah.
It's not
No.
like they're totally different.
But I want to make sure I reference the right one because Jim Belushi and everything he did, it's like we couldn't make so many of the films that he was in these days. And I don't think you can make this one for a couple of reasons. Not just the bestiality, but I think the blackface at the end of the movie was a
that's-
little rough.
And I saw a whole behind the scenes thing where they're interviewing Landis, and he talked about a few of the scenes from the movie that the executives had issue with. One was blackface.
Okay.
One was the bestiality scene with the gorilla.
Yeah.
And he says it's a joke, and it goes by super quick.
Not bestiality because they're both actors in suits.
But no
It's
one
not actually a monkey.
Whatever, dude.
but no one had any problem with Jamie Lee Curtis
Right.
Why
taking
would
off
you?
her top several times
Exactly.
for no reason.
And he told a funny story where Steve Martin said to him, he's like, "Yeah, I saw the movie." He's like, "Oh yeah, what'd you think?" And he said, and then he goes, "Oh, Jamie Lee Curtis. Who knew?"
Because this was heard right after Halloween.
Yeah,
Like,
she
no
was
one-
known as a scream queen, and they
Yeah.
didn't want to cast her for the movie because of that.
because of it.
And
And, now
she-
She's
and John-
good in Halloween though.
Yeah,
Oh,
John
yeah.
Landis
This one.
went to bat for her and said, like, no, I think she can do this. She's funny.
Yeah.
She's, and she gives him all the credit for breaking her out of that scream queen. Scream queen.
But give it another shot. Scream.
Scream queen.
Okay, thank you. No, and
Hated
there's
it.
no dig on Jamie Lee, and because she's a phenomenal actress.
Yeah.
she's hilarious.
Yeah.
And even I've seen her in stuff today. Like she's in an episode. She plays the mom in New Girl.
Okay.
With Zoe Deschanel, and her episodes are absolutely the funniest thing. Like one of her roommates. Like is supposed to pretend hit it on her, and then he actually starts falling in love
Have
with
you
her.
seen The Bear? On
Oh, is that the one about the restaurant?
Yes.
No, I haven't watched it.
Trey, look up.
Is she in that?
Who?
See,
See if Jamie. I think it's Jamie Lee Curtis is in The Bear.
we can check that out.
But
Yeah.
yeah, continue. 'Cause
She's absolutely hilarious, and I think there's just it's funny how it's a sign of the times in those scenes, and it's a big debate actually right now in Hollywood where they're like those like random topless scenes.
Yeah.
Where they're like why?
She won an
You're just
Emmy.
like why?
dude,
She won an Emmy for the bear.
you want to see some insane acting?
Okay.
Go watch The Bear.
Okay.
And she plays the mother of the family, and she's like she has a couple scenes in the 2 seasons that she appears in. I think she doesn't show up until the second season, but one of the episodes is focused around their house around Christmas time, and it's hectic, it's chaotic. They're all from Philadelphia. I'm wanting to say,
Yeah.
off the top of my
I
head.
think it's Philly, yeah.
But they're all yelling. It's like it was making me so anxious. I almost had to turn the episode off, and I've never felt like that watching anything before.
Really?
And it was
Okay.
like, wow. And she is kind of psychotic,
Yeah.
and she loses it.
She's only in 2 episodes, and I think she got an Emmy.
Dude,
For, like,
Man.
best guest
Okay.
appearance. Something like that.
smashes.
Big
this
shout
whole-
outs to Jamie Lee
Yeah.
Curtis. She won her Oscar this year
I love that.
for
Yes.
like Everything Everywhere All at Once or whatever that
Yeah,
movie's
everything, everything,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it's called.
something. Man, that's hard to
Everything, everywhere, all at once.
Hey, you know who was also in Trading Places that I caught during the movie, and I had to look it up to see if I was
Two
right?
other ladies' boobs.
Oh no,
That makes 4. Of
that
those
makes
two.
six. That makes six.
6 total.
There you go. Gus Fring.
2 are famous.
Yes.
He's in the
He
cell
is.
with him, but
He
he's
is.
one of the guys that he's explaining how he's a karate man. Karate man.
Karate man bruise on the inside.
Wait,
Don't
hold
show
on.
weakness.
Who?
Gus
Gus Fring from Breaking Bad.
From Breaking Bad, the guy who runs Los Pollos Hermanos.
Oh, wait, he's in that?
Yeah, he's one of the
Giancarlo
cellmates.
Esposito.
Is he one of like the really like smaller kind of guys like in there? Because like those other two,
The
two
ones,
big dudes.
No, he's not one of
cracked me
those
up.
dudes. But
Yeah,
he's one of the
those
guys
cracked
that's like
me up.
buying into it. That he's
Yeah.
the karate
Okay.
man.
Okay, because the other two guys,
on the inside.
the other two dudes have their spot in this movie, and they're hilarious. Especially the one who just keeps leaning and going, "Yeah,
Yeah.
and he keeps backing
He
out.
reminds me of Ron Simmons from the WWE.
does.
When he
Damn.
would do the damn.
Dude, well, the guy, so not the guy, but the guy to the right of him he reminded me of it just left me. He was on the Blues Brothers. His name is Matt Murphy.
Okay.
He's a guitarist, which I met him, and I gotta tell you, that was one of
We
those.
also met Bill Murray.
That was a pinnacle of my life. I was in high school, and one
Wow,
of
you
our good
peaked then,
friends,
huh? You peaked then. Huh?
I peaked. Oh, I definitely peaked. That's no mystery, and I'm not hanging on to anything about who I am.
I got
now.
no qualms with
I'm
it.
on your
Back
ass.
then, sure, I'm good. No, but so a good friend of ours, they were playing a band at that German place down in the Gables, and
Fritz and Franz?
Yeah, Fritz and Franz. They were playing in their blues band, and for some reason, Matt Murphy, who's the guitarist, he's an amazing blues guitarist, showed up. And he was going to be a part of it, and so I sat and I waited and listened to them. They're okay, they're fine. I couldn't
The
drink
rest of them
yet.
suck. Matt Murphy was
There
good.
are a couple
I
of high schoolers in
I
in
couldn't
the
drink
blues
yet.
band.
Yeah, so I wasn't really like enjoying
then
myself.
you-
I was just like,
If you had that tribe
Yeah.
ID, you could.
what?
If you have that tribal ID.
No, I didn't. That's not funny.
It's not true.
But anyways, hold on. I'm gonna do a little. Matt Murphy rolls in, and I don't even know. I'm like, this is the first time in my life I've seen other people. I'm starstruck, dude. Like this guy, he comes in and he's huge, burly, big dude, and he's so soft spoken. I'm like, hi, like it's nice to meet you. And he reaches out, his hand like comes over mine, and he plays guitar with that enormous hands, dude. That's
crazy.
And so I just so sorry. That
It's
was
like
just,
when I met Paul White.
yeah. Okay, you met Paul
bar
White?
chords.
The Big Show.
Bar chords are really
7
easy.
footer.
Bar chords are really easy.
Yeah, I don't know
Wraps
how.
his hand around the guitar.
Bro, I don't know how he played it. Like I feel like he could crush it in his hands, like he'd just break it. But sorry,
a
you met
special guitar, man.
When'd you meet? Who'd you meet?
The Big Show.
Yo, you met the Big Show. Yeah,
Yeah.
dude.
Yeah. Shook his hand. I'm a big dude. And I was like,
Big Show.
where did my hand? Can I have my hand back, please? Thank you, sir. Thank you.
I'll take it.
Have you ever seen that picture of a beer in Andre the Giant's hand? It looks like one of those Coca-Cola mini cans.
Oh yeah.
It's
Dude,
a
I
full-size beer.
I
in that
have a
dude's hand.
picture of me holding one of those Coca-Cola minis, and it still doesn't look as impressive as him holding a full size one.
That's what she said.
My boss actually met the great Khali from
Oh,
wrestling.
that guy's huge.
Dude, he's like 7'4"
From
or
the
something like
longest
that.
yard.
Yeah,
I'm glad you're back.
wow, dude.
No, I
But-
don't have to stab you.
it's like the best line of that whole movie.
Yeah, dude.
But
Okay, so sorry. Getting back
so yeah,
to
Eddie Murphy.
set up
Dan
a quick
Aykroyd.
synopsis of this. Yeah,
Okay, so
okay.
it's Eddie Murphy is a bum.
Yep.
Dan Aykroyd is a super waspy, wealthy his whole
He's a
life.
day trader.
He's a commodities broker.
He plays pompous so well.
But it's
Dude,
not.
he
But,
kills it.
but like he's not even that bad. Like
Dude,
yeah,
he's an asshole.
He's like cold, but he's not. But not like the two older guys are.
No,
not like the Duke and Duke guys.
No,
are.
he's an asshole. The two older guys are terrible, awful, gross people.
If you want to think about like demons inhabiting a body, I'm pretty sure it's these two people.
They're just-
It's
they're
like the
just
physical
completely-
embodiment of the dudes from the Muppets who sit in the freaking rafters.
No, they at least have a conscience.
Well, yeah, but-
I'm defending the Muppets. No, they at least have a fucking conscience.
No, but
These
like if
two
those guys
people-
weren't funny. Like,
Okay, if they weren't
if
people,
everything was literal, like
they're
Yeah.
more. Those Muppets are more people than these two old men are.
yeah, so there's
So, okay.
Randolph and Mortimer Duke,
Yeah.
who own Duke and Duke, the commodities broker that's been on the stock exchange basically since
they
it was
founded
founded.
1800 something.
And Lewis Winthorpe III
Yes.
is played by Dan Aykroyd, and he does such a good job
He's
with
like Harvard educated.
Mumsy. that whole thing is so fantastic.
But at least like in the beginning when he's like he gets driven to work and all that stuff. But at least when people say good morning, he's like, good morning.
Good morning.
Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning.
The
Exactly.
other, and then it shows the two guys, the guys who own it.
Right.
They do the same walk that he just did because they're going to the same
Good morning,
club.
Mr. Duke. Good morning,
And they're
Mr.
good morning,
Duke.
Mr. Duke. And
They never say
they just
anything
look
to anybody.
through
Blow 'em
these people.
Blowing off, yeah.
They
Blow.
use the freaking guy drops a hard R in this movie.
Well, yeah, we'll get to that.
Okay, we're gonna
We'll
get to that
that.
synopsis. Sorry.
So, and Eddie Murphy is basically a grifter. He's a bum.
He's homeless.
He's
Yeah.
he's a con man, really.
Yeah.
And he's broke. And Mortimer and Randolph just make a bet because they're having a debate about nature versus nurture.
Nurture. Yeah.
And they decide that they're going to bet against Winthorpe and Billy Ray Valentine, which
Yeah.
is such a perfect name
Billy Ray.
for him, where they're going to basically trade their places. They're going to
Yeah.
switch them.
Yeah.
And was it Randolph says that you could switch them, and given the right circumstance, Winthorpe would become a criminal and hurt people and harass people for money.
Yeah.
And Billy Ray Valentine would become
Like
he
a
could run
CEO.
he could
He
run
could
their
run their
company.
company.
He could take
Yeah.
Winthorpe's job.
Yeah.
And so they make a bet.
Yeah.
And the movie goes from there.
There you
and
go.
they make a few phone calls to the amazing actor who plays the butler, who does such a great job in this movie.
Yeah. Look him up. What's his? You need his name.
The
on
butler?
that. Yeah, the
Yeah.
butler. Yeah. It is like Reginald or something like that. Like he's an old English actor butler, but he plays it really well.
Right.
Yeah. But when this movie starts, I loved how much time they spent with each character.
Yeah.
In order to understand this is their life. This is who they are. This is
Doing
what
the
they're
music, like the
they're comfortable with. Yeah.
Denholm Elliott
yeah.
Denholm.
plays Coleman.
Yes.
Coleman, yeah.
Coleman. Denholm. Man.
And he's kind of like
Someone named
he's
their
kind
kid
of like that
Denholm.
moral
That did have.
that the conscience of the movie that kind of shifts back and forth as the movie goes on.
Yeah.
But you get the feeling like he's not okay because he
what's
works
happening.
for the Dukes.
Yeah.
And Winthorpe lives in the home that is owned by the Dukes.
Yeah.
And Coleman, his butler, works for the Dukes as well. So they put in the phone call and say, "Hey, we're going to do a science experiment."
Yeah, we're gonna screw this guy
Yeah,
over.
exactly.
Okay. And he's like,
And
really?
he hangs up. He's like, "Okay, sir. No, I work for you, so whatever you want, we'll
Yeah.
do." And he hangs up and he's like, "Scumbags."
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
immediately.
So they play up that parallel really well, and like I said, no one can play pompous like Dan Aykroyd can. Dan Aykroyd has this amazing God-given gift of like, if you put him like with wealth and money, like he's supposed to be like, I'm so much better than you. He just embodies that with such a purity. It's easy. It's unbelievable. But I could also, the thing about him is I could also like listen to Dan Aykroyd explain anything for hours. Like he could read like the car manual to me and just
It's like
straightforward.
trying to
and
read.
like,
It's like trying to read a radio manual.
yeah. No, he can sit there and read it. And the way he reads or explains things, he's like, and then we're gonna go there. And like the way he talks, it's like, oh yeah, just keep going, buddy. I'm totally.
That's why
invested.
he's the guy in Ghostbusters that does a lot of the exposition stuff.
It's true. This man has no dick. No, but that's Bill Murray. Sorry. Anyway, so they start
Oh,
off
we almost had a spit
with this
take there.
great
and
parallel.
The whole way that they end up meeting Billy Ray Valentine is
They run into each other
They
on
go
the
to
sidewalk.
the club, and he's being kind of followed by the cops.
Yeah.
Who are kind of roughing him up a little bit because he's a grifter. He's pretending he has no legs.
The gentleman's club, not the hip hop club, not the
Right.
not the discotheque.
Right, they're like social club that they're all a part
yeah.
of. Gentlemen's club is like it's like a strip club.
No, just like discotheque.
Like a hip hop dance.
Why do you? Well, I'm talking like Dan Aykroyd's character. We're the wild and crazy guys because we go to party, discotheque, and
No,
sorry.
but that the Eddie Murphy as the grifter is like one of the funniest parts of that movie.
Yeah.
because he's on this like
He's on like a little
he's on
cart.
like a pallet cart.
Yeah, it's like a
you would
little
use
dolly.
to push like
Yeah.
a dolly that you use push
It's like a furniture moving.
and he has gloves on. He's just pulling himself and on around his neck.
What's in his hands? He's got like bottles or something
he
when
has
he's like
to
to
pull
reach
himself,
the floor.
yeah, to reach the
Yeah, off the sides of the cart.
And so
covered in
he
newspapers.
it's newspapers. That's
Yeah,
exactly
I
what it
think
is. And he has a thing around his neck that says Vietnam veteran, anything helps. And he's wearing dark sunglasses. And he does the like Stevie Wonder.
Yeah, because he's
head
blind.
bob. You want to pretend he's blind. So he's asking them all for money, whatever. And the cops run up to him in a park. And they're like, "Oh, you're a military man. You're in Nam." He's like, "Yeah, I was in Guangzhou or Sing Sam,
Dang dang.
Ding Dang. I was all over that place, man.
it, yeah.
I was all over that place." And,
He's like, my name was Agent Orange.
Special Agent Orange. That was my name. Yeah.
Agent Orange.
Dude.
It's the
And so the
chemical
cops-
weapon that, if for
Yeah.
those who don't know, that is the chemical weapon that was used on soldiers in Vietnam.
So they lift him
Yeah.
up off this thing, and his legs fall out from under the blanket. And
They
the,
like-
and the best part is, he's like, "It's a miracle. I can walk."
Yeah.
And they take his glasses off, and he goes, "I can see."
Praise Jesus. Thank you guys. Thank you so much.
Just the way he like delivers it, he's like, "I can walk. Oh my God." And they take the glasses off, and at first his eyes are like cross-eyed, and then they go straight. And he's like, "I can see." And so he's being followed, and he
Yeah.
runs into Dan Aykroyd, who's holding his briefcase that has their payroll checks.
Dan
for the
Aykroyd
firm.
runs into him.
Well,
Yeah,
but they
yeah.
run into each other.
Yeah, he
because they're
comes
both
like
backing
running
up.
down the stairs of the
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're both
bumps
like
him.
not
Easily
paying
takes
attention.
a clip off.
and he
of
gets
him,
up and he picks up the briefcase and he's like, "Here you go."
And he's like, "No, take it. Don't shoot me."
Good Lord.
He's stealing from me. Help! Help! Police! Somebody help!
Like the original Karen. Like,
Yeah,
everyone's
seriously.
just-
And the whole time, Billy Ray is just standing there trying to
give the
hand him the
briefcase
briefcase
back. Here, dude,
back. He's like,
take
"Here,
it."
man. Sorry, whatever." And then the cops start to come to arrest him, and that's when he takes off running.
Yeah.
And he runs
And
into the club. And
That's when
Yeah.
Mortimer and Randolph see him.
Yeah.
And they do the whole business. But like,
Right.
I gotta ask you guys. So I know this is a comedy, but I think I laughed like maybe 2 or 3 times in this whole thing, and that was the one. It was Eddie Murphy, and I think all 3 times were Eddie Murphy. Because it was Eddie Murphy when he was on the ground doing his homeless bit thing, and then it's Eddie Murphy after they've converted him to being like a CFO.
No, the prison scene is funny
And
too. When he's in the jail and he's talking about how he's a karate man.
Karate
Yeah,
man?
He's
no,
like-
that didn't get me.
So
I
he's
don't know.
That was
telling-
funny.
That didn't get me.
So he gets arrested at the club, and they take him
Yeah.
back to the jail cell at the precinct, and they book him, and they throw him in there, and these guys are like, he's telling that he's exaggerating the story that like he knocked out 6 cops and all this
Yeah,
stuff,
like 10
and they're like, "How'd you take on 6 guys?" He's like, "I'm a karate man.
Yeah.
I use my move," and he's like doing all this stuff. And
That's
then,
called the cord of blood.
That's called the cord
You
of
do that,
blood.
and a cord of blood just drops out of a brother.
And the 2 bigger guys are like, "They got you on the ground. Where are all your bruises?" He's like, "What are you, ignorant? Karate
Yeah.
man bruised on the inside."
When they brought you in, when they was booking you yesterday, you was crying like a bitch.
You say, I think I find it funnier.
Yeah,
you
because they
guys
do,
quoting it back
they,
to me.
They threw tear gas to my eyes. That's
Yeah.
that soft shit they do. When they
Yeah, they do that for groups. They used it on me, a single man, because I'm a karate man.
still walked in here.
No, man, the other scene that was with, like it was humorous, but I don't know, I was annoyed by it. But then when he's in the office and Dan Aykroyd's now he's
Homeless.
lost everything, and he comes
Yeah,
in.
they frame him for stealing.
They
Yeah.
frame him for theft. They frame it. They plant drugs
Then they
on
plant
him,
drugs on him while
and
he's
for like
in the thing,
embezzling,
and then they
embezzling?
freeze all his accounts
Yeah.
because he's
He's a heroin dealer.
Yeah,
They-
oh, yeah.
And he keeps defending himself. It was PCP, angel dust.
Not heroin. Yeah, I love that part. But when he comes in, and so he's Dan Aykroyd's livid, and he pulls out a gun because Eddie Murphy's now the sane one, and he literally is pulling up. He's like, "I'm calling security." Pulls up. He goes, "Hello, security," and Dan Aykroyd pulls out the gun, and Eddie Murphy notices the gun. He goes,
They're at the Christmas
"Merry
party."
Christmas."
he hangs up the phone. Yeah.
that got me. That was the one.
The other one that cracks me
scenes.
up is when they find out that this is what happened because Dan Aykroyd tries to plant drugs back on Eddie Murphy to frame him.
Oh,
and
yeah.
he's like, "Look,
Yeah.
he's got all the drugs: weed, pills, heroin, cocaine, and
Marijuana
a
cigarettes.
marijuana cigarette." And Eddie Murphy pockets one of
Yeah.
He does. Yeah, he pops it in.
And that's
yeah.
how he finds
That's
out.
how he
what they're
finds out because he
doing.
goes to the bathroom
Yeah.
and he's smoking in the stall with his feet up on the toilet so nobody can see him.
So there's a great this movie has really great layers. I'm going to say. So the first plot is that it's these 2 old rich guys are trying to see nature versus nurture,
And they're
And
bet.
That's the
and
through line.
They bet. That's
throughout
the
whole
through.
movie, yeah.
And the second one is they are inside trading. Like
Right.
they're using inside knowledge to
They're
basically
trying to corner the market.
Yeah.
There's a
on
check.
frozen orange juice
Orange
futures.
juice.
There's a check that keeps coming up when they do payroll, and the
Yeah.
one guy keeps going, "Oh, he's doing research. I'll
Yeah.
take that," and he puts it in.
Yeah.
Yeah. More in the beginning, Winthorpe catches him paying $50,000 out to a Clarence Beeks.
Yeah.
And when he confronts him, well, actually, Randolph starts saying, "Who are we paying $50,000 to?" And the other one's like, "Shut up, shut up, shut up."
It reminds me of Harry and Marv. Shut up, Marv.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a good Joe
But,
Pesci. I like that.
Then
That's what I do during the week. I just sit and practice.
As you should. As you should.
then later, Billy Ray finds a $10,000 check for
Yeah.
him.
And the thing is,
And
he
he
like
confronts
takes
him.
to it really well. Like,
Yeah.
Eddie Murphy's character is like, so at first,
Well, yeah, that's a cool, and they did a really good job at quickly transitioning his character
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
like
broke bum
to being a
To, like-
sophisticated broker.
to like a high class person.
Yeah, so
and it's
they-
basically like you give somebody stuff,
Purpose.
and you want to protect your stuff.
investment,
Like
yeah.
you don't want people ruining your
So
stuff.
they give him basically everything that Dan
That's
Aykroyd had.
My favorite part of the movie
was
is when
now
they go to
his.
the bar.
Yeah, so he go. So when you first get money, you do what anybody who just comes into a bunch of money. You want to go and you want to show it off. And the bartender's like, "You got a lot of guts showing your face right here." He's like, "Man, I've got you $27 with interest," and he's just flicking $100 bills onto the bar. And he's like, "Give me a bottle of champagne. Champagne for everybody." And
The two guys from the jail
Are in the
show
bar.
there, and he's
Yeah,
like,
they come
"Hey
around.
man, you the guy from yesterday that I was gonna carve up." And he says, he goes, "You that."
with a limousine.
Get ready for the language. It's a rated
Yeah.
R movie.
It's coming
He's like-
in.
He's like, "You that motherfucker from that I was gonna carve up," and he's like, "Motherfucker." What? And that I saw an interview with Jamie Lee Curtis, and she says like that's the perfect epitome of the movie. It sums up the whole movie in one line, like motherfucker. Moi? And he's like, "Yeah, my limousine's outside," because he was telling him he couldn't get a hold of his hose, the phone in his
hose
limo.
coming from
And I love the little guys in the cell. They're like, "Yeah, the phone in his limousine's broken. Can't get hold of the hose."
What are you, ignorant?
Yeah, what are you, ignorant? But so then he invites the whole bar back to his house to party,
Right.
and
People are like putting out cigarettes on
the
his
lady
rug.
spills the drink, and he's like, "Who's putting out cools? You put out cools on my
Clothes.
floor?
You put out clothes on
Cools on my floor?" Screaming and
Take your shoes off.
Yeah.
That carpet's Persian. From Persia.
Persia.
yeah, and then people are going upstairs, and that's when you get like,
Naked girl in his
actually,
bed.
there's
no,
8?
6.
there's 8.
I think they're
There's
right.
the two
'cause
girls
there's the
dancing, the
Two
one
in the
girl
fireplace.
upstairs. We
One
forgot about
upstairs,
one.
and Jamie Lee Curtis.
How did we
Who
forget
will-
about a pair beside a boobies?
Fair beside a Bob.
How we
Call those
forget?
those the bonus boobies.
Those are the bonus movies. But so
So he's getting really upset because
he
they're
gets
like
all pissed
trashing
off.
his
They're
place.
trashing his stuff, and he throws everybody out.
Yeah.
And that's when what's Coleman. I can't believe I can't. Coleman is there for him to talk with him.
And he's like, you should retire.
He's like, "Yeah,
I think I will retire.
I'm gonna retire." And I love when the Dukes bail him out of prison. When he's like, "Oh yeah, so you better not mess
Okay.
with me." They got him picked up against the jail cell, the
Yeah.
two big dudes.
Yeah.
And he's like, "You better not mess with me." In cell number 9 on the 9th floor. And then the guy's like, "Valentine," he's, "Yes, you made bail it." "I did." And they take him out, and the Dukes have bailed him out.
Yeah.
And they entice him into the car with liquor and
Cigars.
And he's like, "I know what you guys are going to do. You're the ones who framed me in the first place." And they're like, "Why would we frame you? We just bailed you out."
Yeah.
So he gets in the car, and they offer him the cigars, and he grabs like all the cigars,
puts them in his
and he's
coat.
holding them like that, and then
Yeah.
he takes the whiskey, he's just holding it, and when they get to the house, and
Gotta
Coleman's like, "Can I take those for you?" So he's like, "You can get a glass and have a sip." Because he's so like defensive of the stuff, he doesn't want to give it up.
He doesn't want to give
He's
up his
afraid.
coat.
If
He
I was
doesn't-
in the same position, I'd be like, "Yeah, these
and they
are
put him
mine."
in the
Yeah.
jacuzzi, and he's like, "Get away from me!" And he's like,
It keeps calling him. Keeps saying they're gay.
Yeah.
He's like, when he leads up to the driver when they're taking him to the house, and he's like, This is a joke, man. It's a practical joke." And the guy's
Right.
like, "Mm-mm." And he's like, "So what should I do?" And he's like, And he's like, "There's a couple of fags, ain't there?" He just keeps
Thank
going
you.
back.
You were very
like,
helpful.
No.
Leads back.
Yeah,
to the car.
it keeps going back to that, like, are they gay?
Yeah.
Like, is that what this
This
is?
is weird.
Yeah. And then when
They-
he puts him in the bathtub,
Yeah, he's like, the only way we had jacuzzi back in the hood is if we fart in the tub. That's the only way
and
we
he
had-
says to him, he's like, would you like jacuzzi? He's like, jacuzzi? I knew you were gay. Like, it's so
real.
funny,
He's
man.
like,
and
it's a
then- and-
jacuzzi bath.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then to like contrast Dan Aykroyd's experience in jail, that he actually did
He
you
got the
catch that
crap
line?
kicked out of him.
Well, he gets beat up.
And
they
then he's
steal
like,
his clothes. And then
Those
he's
men
like,
wanted to have sex with me.
That's it. Yeah,
they tried to bend me out. And she's like, come on.
just like get off.
When-
of
So
here.
that's where he
Get
meets
out.
Jamie Lee Curtis because
Yeah,
the guy who framed him pays
Clarence
her.
Beeks.
Beeks pays. She's a prostitute.
Yeah.
But she pays her $50
Lady of the evening.
just to kiss him in front of his fiance, so
Right.
that she'll dump him and he won't have the money from her.
Yeah.
And so he goes to the bank and tries to pay her to like help him, Jamie Lee Curtis.
Well, tries to go home first.
Right.
And Coleman is like, there's no Coleman here.
Yeah. And then he goes to the bank, but she notices like, oh yeah, like he does have money.
Because he has the credit cards.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And then she's like, oh, that's the guy that paid me to set you up. And he's
Yeah.
like, I know who that is. And like, so she's like, all right, come with me. And then you find out that like she doesn't do drugs, like all. And he's like, you're a prostitute. She's like, it's a business. Like, she's like, and then so she's helping him because she's like, you're gonna pay me 5 figures.
Isn't that
when you-
isn't that so many 80s movies? The prostitute with a heart of gold.
Yeah.
That's
It's the Julia Roberts of this movie.
Right.
But she's like, you're going to pay me 5 figures. This isn't negotiable, or I'm going
Yeah.
to throw you out on the street. And he
Yeah.
agrees to it. And so she's helping him throughout the entire movie. Like he gets sick at one point, and she helps him, all that stuff.
She starts to care for him.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
as a
Because she's like,
person.
oh, he's helpless.
Oh,
Like,
she turns out to be the most decent person in the whole
in
city.
the entire movie.
Yeah, in the whole thing. Yeah, it was hard to watch some of these things, and I'm like, I bet this still happens. Like, the inside trading and like how horrible these two old men are. I'm like, this
Well,
feels too real.
I'll get to it toward
Yeah.
the end.
But
okay.
anyway, they bring in Eddie Murphy's character. What?
Billy Ray Valentine.
Billy Ray.
Yeah,
William.
Billy Ray.
William.
They
They
bring in-
start calling him William.
Yeah, they bring in
The
Billy.
Dukes.
They bring in Billy Ray into, and they're trying to teach him what they do. And they're like, they have all these things put out, and he's like, "This is coffee, like you had for breakfast. This is wheat used to make bread,
Yeah.
and even concentrated orange juice." And they're explaining it, and he goes, "I get it." And they're like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, y'all are just a couple of bookies.
Yeah.
That's all this is."
Yeah.
And they're trying to. One of the guys is like, "We need to sell this price," and he's like, "No, they're
Nope.
panicking."
Wait, bacon.
They're
Bacon.
Well, he
bacon.
just says no.
Yeah, he's like, "No, I wouldn't do
like,
that."
What do you
do
mean,
that, man?
And then he's like, hold on.
Yeah.
And the other brother calls and cancels the order to sell.
He's like,
and he
he's
says,
like, all those
people are panicking. It's the holidays. You
trying
know,
to get their kid G.I. Joe for Christmas.
He's like trying to get their kids presents. They got no money, so their wife ain't gonna fuck. Their wife ain't gonna have sex with him. He's like talking,
gonna
and
sleep
he's
with him?
clean. You can see he's cleaning his language up.
Yeah.
And they just lucked out and found like a incredibly smart homeless person or bum down
they
on
found
his
Eddie
luck
Murphy.
guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Well, he's a con man. You got to be smart enough to con people out of their
exactly
money.
You
to
gotta
put
tell
him
you,
up there. I mean, his con wasn't the best, but
Dang,
yeah,
No, he was in Ding Dong,
Yeah.
Wan Jang. He was all over that.
yeah.
place.
I was in Viet Cong. What? He didn't even get the name of the war right.
But he points it out that he's like, and so now all these farmers who have all this meat they got to move for,
Right.
for
Right.
pig.
People
like,
are panicking.
People are
and-
panicking.
He makes
and
them
they're
like-
not buying it,
He's
so
like,
the farmers are going to lower their price.
I wait till they get to about 64, then I buy.
yeah.
And he makes them like $300,000 like that.
Out
and
the gate, yeah.
So that's when they're like, "Oh crap! Like he can really do this."
And it's at that part that it's Randolph and Mortimer, do.
yeah.
And Randolph is the one that believes that he can do this, and Mortimer is the one that doesn't
He's like,
believe it.
"No,
He's
he
on
can't."
Winthorpe's side. He thinks Winthorpe.
Ooh, racist. Okay.
Oh yeah, yes.
He's the one that drops the
He's
hard
dropping Negro a
And then
bunch
he
of
drops-
times, and then like 2 or 3 times in the movie, there's a hard R dropped, and it's like, oh, okay, ho.
Yeah, he's like, "I'm not gonna let this company be run by a hard R," and it's
yeah.
like, "Whoa!"
Not cool, bro.
It didn't
But
feel
he
good
drops-
then. It didn't feel good now. I'm just going to tell you that.
And I had
Just
forgotten about I had forgotten about those lines because
I love how you suggested this movie and then you texted us like, you all want to call
I
an
said-
audible on this one?
well, I was like, have you guys watched it yet? No. All right, just a heads up.
Yeah, there's a lot of language.
These are some things that are going down.
See, one of the things I was like, we may need to call an audible, and then you said the thing about Jamie Lee Curtis, and I was like, so I still need to watch this movie.
So I still-
Yeah. Well, Mortimer proceeds to drop his money clip
Yeah.
And he picks Eddie Murphy's character picks it up and he's thumbing through it. No, he's just looking at it, thumbing through it. He's smiling, and then he kind of like looks up and he takes off and he goes down. He's like,
Mortimer dropped his money.
Mortimer dropped his money.
You can count it.
It's all there. You can count. Go ahead and count it. Go count it. And they're like, no, it's okay. We believe you. But then when he walks away, Randolph turns to Morty. He's like, that was a cheap trick. Nice try. Yeah, it was a cheap trick.
And so Dan Aykroyd like rapidly descends into madness, and
because he's trying to figure out who framed him,
and he's convinced that it's Billy Ray that has framed him. So he tries to reframe him for drugs. He dresses up as like a Santa and goes to their
most ridiculous.
Dude, it's
where
like
did he find it?
Salt and pepper. Like it looks like they drag the beer through exhaust.
So horrid, dude.
Because even the people at the party are looking at him like, "What the hell?"
And he's like standing in the food line.
He's
when
putting
you
like
first see
salmon in his.
He puts an entire fillet of salmon inside his Santa costume.
He's filling his pockets with rolls and meat.
And
prime rib.
And we're from Florida. We know a thing about fish and throwing them in your overcoat. That's so it's not pretty.
He goes into his old office and he puts drugs in the drawer.
When he puts the drugs in the drawer and Eddie Murphy comes in, when he runs out.
Hey, what are you doing?
When he runs out after they do the whole like security thing, and then he decides to leave, and he's like got the gun. Eddie Murphy opens the drawer and he pulls out like a thing of meat that he had tried to like rub the stuff he was
like a whole slab of roast beef.
Yeah, and I love the scene right then. He goes out into the actual party waving the gun, and everyone's like, and he jumps up on the table, and then he's getting ready to get down, and he just stops and turns around, and he like waves the gun one more time, and everyone's like, It's just like, the power of that.
Yeah.
But when he gets on the bus,
and he starts
and he's going, and
he
I saw an interview with Dan Aykroyd, and he's like, I had the salmon, the beard. I decided to just put them together, and he's just pulling the salmon
because he's pissed drunk,
eating it on the subway.
And Billy Ray has gone to the bathroom and overheard the Dukes.
Yeah,
and they lay out their whole plan, and then he says, "Okay, so we'll switch them back." And he says, "No, we can't take Winthorpe back after what he's done." And he's like, "So we stay with Valentine?"
Yeah.
And he says, "No, I can't have a hard R running our company."
Oh.
And he's like, "So we'll wait till after the crop report comes out, because that's what they've been planning the whole time, is to get the crop report early and insider trading, cheat the system, corner the market, and make all their money, or make a ton more money, which they don't need, but they're just greedy bastards." And
dude, they're like 90. Like they're so old.
And the worst part is this whole thing they bet $1.
Well, that's what I was getting to. He's like, "So I won the bet. Pay up." And he goes, "Okay, here you are, $1." And Eddie Murphy is overhearing the whole thing, and he's like, "Wow, like they're gonna wreck our entire lives."
Well, the best part about that is he puts the lit joint in his mouth, and he's like,
and like falling all around, staying on the toilet the whole time was awesome. He actually said in the interviews I was watching that he was older in the interviews. I don't know if it's how old, but he said it was the most fun he ever had making a movie on any movie set that he had been on.
Besides that, in Haunted Mansion, or
because him and Dan Aykroyd were on SNL at the same time,
or Norbit,
Norbit, Nutty Professor,
Dr.
14. Doolittle. Go waste Daddy Daycare.
Sorry, go underrated
waste an hour.
10,000 words or whatever that movie
is.
Go
waste an hour and a half of your life and watch Norbit.
No, don't. Watch Daddy Daycare.
No.
That's a good movie.
Side quest. I tried to take a girl on a date thinking, oh, this will be fun. And we got a group together. We went and saw Norbit. And I was like, oh, this killed everything.
Yeah, thank God I had like a baseball game that day.
I didn't think I texted you like, hey, buddy, you want to be a wingman on this?
You were like, you're going to go see Norbit? You're like, you want to be a wingman? I'm like, sure. You're like, we're going to go see Norbit. I was like, I don't want to go.
I don't want to go see Norbit.
I've seen Nutty Professor. I've seen this movie already.
I've seen it. Sorry.
But anyway, so he's trying to catch Dan Aykroyd's character. He's trying to catch Lewis. And
Lewis is at this point has given up. He's just drinking.
He's pissed drunk because he stole whiskey from he stole bourbon from the party. Yeah. That's why he's eating the beer.
Because his plan was to frame him,
and it didn't work. So everything's falling apart. So he goes back to Jamie Lee Curtis's place, and Eddie Murphy follows him there, and he lays out the plan. And now the butler.
Well, it's not that simple.
Yeah,
he follows him back to Jamie Lee Curtis's place. right before he gets there, Winthorpe busts through the door, and Jamie Lee Curtis is putting the tree together, and she says, "Oh, Louis, you home?" And she's like, "I got a surprise for you when you're done in there." And he like goes in the bathroom, and then Valentine comes in the door looking for him and says, "Excuse me, your door was open." And she's like, "Oh, hold on." She says, "I'm looking for Louis Winthorpe. Is he here?" She goes, "Yeah, well, give me 1 second." And she goes over and she's banging on the bathroom door and she's like, Louis, it's him. Valentine's here. And Valentine busts the door open and he's taking all the pills.
That's not the first time. He tried to kill himself twice in this movie.
Yeah,
you remember?
Dude, when he pulls the trigger on the gun.
He takes the gun because the dog pees on him.
Yeah.
He gets off the bus after eating the beard salmon.
Yeah.
The dog pees on him, and he is just so disheveled and so drunk, and so
it starts to rain.
Everything's over, and right then it starts to rain on him, and he just raises his hand with the gun in his hand, and click, the gun doesn't go off. He throws the gun, and the gun goes off in the distance. Yeah, it's so crazy. But that scene's also really good when he goes to the pawn shop.
Yeah,
and he's like, "This is a blah watch."
He explains it. Yeah,
and he runs all down the whole watch.
This is the sports watch of the 80s.
Yes, of the 80s.
It's a $65,000 piece. Well, in Philadelphia, it's worth $50.
Yeah, because he's trying to say it's stolen and all this stuff.
That thing's hotter than the sun. I can't sell that thing.
Yeah, and then so he ends up asking about the gun, and that's where he gets the gun.
That's the second laugh I got.
So the paramedics.
Was when he goes, "How much is the gun?" And they just cut to the camera, and he's like, "Huh?"
Yeah, the guy looks at him like, "What?" I do like how they did it a couple times in the movie too, where only Eddie Murphy looks right down the pipe of the camera, and he'll be like
when they're explaining the stuff to him, like he's an idiot.
Yeah.
And he's just like,
Every time they start talking to him like he's dumb, he just turns to the camera.
Can we talk about how iconic Eddie Murphy's laugh is? And how I felt like that.
That's awesome. And it was supposed to be Richard Pryor. They wanted Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor because they had just come off of Silver Streak and one other movie that they had done together.
Yeah, that movie where he's
was right
blind
when
and he's
the toy.
deaf.
Well, yeah, exactly. There's one of them that's where one's blind and one's deaf, and they work together to help each other. But this was right after he blew himself up freebasing.
Oh, that's right.
And he was all injured and couldn't do the
Doesn't
movie.
he do that? He does that joke where he's like, he lights a match and he runs it, and he goes, "This is the joke. Richard Pryor ran down the street."
But so after the paramedics come and
the doctor comes.
It was
and
close.
He's like, I'm gonna get him back, and then it cuts to the next scene, and he's sitting there loading double barrel shotguns.
No, that's the part I was talking about.
Yeah.
No, they go back, and the butler is like, "No, it's okay." Like they explain the plan and everything.
Everyone's in the know now,
and he's loading his double barrel shotguns that he hunts with, and he comes in. He goes, "Hey, man, you can't just go shooting people in the kneecaps with double barrel shotguns.
Like, why not?
Because you get your way." Man, that's aggravated assault. You get 20 years for that.
And that's attempted murder. That's 20 years. And then right then, Jamie Lee Curtis is watching TV, and there's a report on the news about the crop report. Yeah. And Clarence Beeks, head of whatever security, is responsible for getting the report
briefcase
to the people. And it shows Beeks walk, and she goes, "Hey, Louis, that's the guy. That's the guy that paid me to mess with you on the courthouse." And both Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd stand up in unison, and they're like, "Clarence Beeks!" And that's when they start putting the plan together.
It all together. And so we jump, and so now everybody knows, everyone's in the know, everyone understands, okay, these two guys, old guys, are trying to corner the market. They're screwing over each other. They're screwing over Eddie Murphy.
Eddie Murphy
and
hears
Dan
them
Aykroyd.
talking on the company phone.
Right.
And then talking to that guy.
And then they pull this plan together where they're, okay, we're going to steal those early orange juice reports from
Clarence Beeks.
Clarence Beeks. We're going to steal him from when he's on this train that goes from Philadelphia to the New York Stock Exchange. Mm-hmm. And it's New Year's Eve.
And then we're basically going to tell the Dukes the opposite.
Yeah, they're going to give them a false report.
That things are going bad, and so they're going to buy, and then things are going good.
And then there's the hilarious
Florida
train
orange juice. Yeah,
there's the hilarious train scene.
And then on the train, there's a gorilla that's being trained.
Which is, I was like, how are you transferring
for science
a gorilla in this open cage? Like this thing could easily reach out and just strangle anybody. But the part of that I was like, oh my god, is that really him? Is Al Franken?
Yeah,
the guy from SNL who
became like a U.S.
bit.
senator.
He's a senator. Yeah, he became his funniest bit was like, I love myself. I appreciate and gosh darn it, I'm good enough.
People like me.
People like me. That's
So
it.
they're the like baggage handlers, and they're sitting there eating bananas,
Yeah.
and the gorilla grabs the bundle, and they're like, "I think there's pretzels in the bar car."
Yeah.
And there's like a costume party for New Year's,
Yeah.
and one of the guys is dressed as
Jim Belushi.
Jim Belushi's dressed as a gorilla.
rolling in.
And so the funny part is they go to this empty train car. Beeks is in an empty train car. At first, Eddie Murphy comes in and he's like, "Hello, good New Year." And
Dressed
he's
as
like,
someone from
dressed as somebody
Merry
from Africa.
New Year.
Merry New Year.
Yeah.
As an African exchange student. And he's like, "Happy. It's Happy
Happy
New Year." And he's like, "Thank you for correcting my English." And he's like,
It's
sitting
not
there,
very good.
And he's like, and he's like, "Beef jerky time."
Yeah.
Starts eating.
Then
beef
Coleman comes in dressed as the priest.
Yeah, and
And he
then-
says, "Here, would you like a drink?" And he says, "No, it's against my religion." He said, I've always said religion is very good in moderation."
in moderation.
And he's dressed as a priest.
As a priest.
Jamie Lee Curtis comes in.
Then it's Jamie.
I'm from Sweden.
Yeah.
Sweden.
And he's like, "But you're wearing lederhosen."
Lederhosen,
There's
Austrian.
a joke to that where in the script she was supposed to be German.
Yeah.
And she told Landis.
Landis,
Yes.
Yeah,
I keep mixing his name up. But that she couldn't, she's like, "I don't do accents."
Right.
And he's like, "What can you do?" And she's, "I guess Swedish."
Maybe Sweden.
And he goes, "Then go with it." And she goes like, "But I'm wearing lederhosen. I'm supposed to be German." He's
Yeah.
like, "Don't worry about it." So that's why the line is in the movie where it's like, "But you're wearing lederhosen." And then they just roll with
from
it. There.
Sweden.
I'm from Sweden.
Yeah, exactly.
She really pushes it off.
So they get the
God,
briefcase,
dude.
and one of the funniest parts is when Dan Aykroyd's in the
Yes.
bathroom,
Yeah.
and Eddie Murphy gets the briefcase, and he knocks on the door, and Dan Aykroyd knocks back,
Yeah.
and he knocks again, and he's like, "Who is it?" And Eddie Murphy goes, "Open the damn door!"
Open the damn door, man. Then so they switch the briefcases out for the other briefcase. They go back in.
Easy for you to say.
he drops it off.
How many briefcases were there?
17. There's 45.
There was two.
Oh shit!
Ah, damn it.
So they give him the one with the bad report, and then
He figures
Dan
it out.
Aykroyd comes in as blackface, like Jamaican Dan Aykroyd, which doesn't even phase. Like, it's so funny. And when they're like, "Oh, you remember me from the conference? I was at the booth," and they're like, ha! Like, it's so funny,
And
dude.
then Meeks figures it out. He's like, "Y'all a bunch of weirdos." Like,
Yeah.
and he takes him to the back of the train where the gorilla is.
Yeah.
He's gonna like kill him.
And then Jim Belushi's character comes in and he's like, "The party's," because he's like, "This is where the party ends." And the guy's like, "It's not even 10 o'clock. And he
Yeah.
goes in and he hits the gorilla with the butt of his gun, or he hits Jim Belushi,
Yeah,
and the
who's dressed
actual
as a
gorilla
gorilla.
gets pissed.
because he thinks it's a female.
And
Yeah.
hits him in the head.
Knocks him
Yeah.
out.
And then they tie him up in the gorilla suit, and basically the gorilla like has his way with
Yes. That's where the
dude.
bestiality comes in.
Oh, dude, I was
And
like, but what's the purpose of Dan? Why does he have to be in this blackface? Because I was like, where?
Why not?
But like, what?
Just a joke.
So they
What tribe? Like
it was
Ingo
just
is
just a
Swedish,
joke.
and like you don't think Beeks like
You don't
knew
think
Coleman?
You don't think that as soon as that guy walked in, how would Beeks know Coleman?
But like, why did he have to go anyways?
He didn't.
Like that's what I'm saying. It's like
No,
with Dan
because they had to
Aykroyd's
give him
character.
He had
they
to-
had to give him the money, like his life savings and all that.
No, but
so that they
they-
could
to
put
switch
money
to the
on floor.
reports, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but he didn't really need to go in there.
No, he didn't need to be.
It
in
was
there.
for comedy. It's for
And it
comedy.
is. It's funny.
comedy.
It's silly. It's
just made-
slapsticky.
yeah,
It's
no.
stupid.
It
So-
just made us uncomfortable.
So then they go to the stock exchange in New
40
York.
years.
They're in the building.
Well,
Yeah.
they go and they meet up out front, and yeah, she gives them all her money. Coleman gives them all his money.
Right.
So they can, they have some money to play with, and they make the plan to go in. And now I looked all this up,
Okay.
went over a whole bunch of videos on the explanation of this.
Yeah.
But it's cool when they're walking in and everything, and they're in the John, and they're washing their hands, and it's like showing the other guys, like the bell rings and like all the stall doors open at the same time, and the stock traders.
yeah.
These guys are all
Yeah.
doing
And
cocaine.
the guys are standing there, and he's like, "How's your ulcer?" Because the guy's taking pills. And then he's like, "How's your ulcer?" And he's like, "Oh, it's fine. Hasn't flared up in weeks."
Yeah.
yeah.
How's your hypertension? Never better.
Yeah. And he's like chewing on pills his own self. But then he's explaining to him like, "There's nothing like it in the world." And they actually filmed in the walls in the World Trade Center in
Yeah.
the stock exchanges.
Yeah.
And they tried
World
to film.
Series, Super Bowl.
Yeah, nothing. It has nothing
Child's
on
play.
this. But they tried to film with actual stock traders.
Oh, really? Okay.
But they couldn't stop laughing and having fun with Dan Aykroyd and Eddie Murphy, so they ended up having to come back on the
Get a bunch
weekends
of
with
extras.
300 extras to reshoot it all.
Okay.
But yeah, so they decide. They know that with the report that they gave the Dukes,
That everything's gonna be normal.
they're gonna buy like crazy. They want to drive the price up super high.
Yeah.
So they wait till the price gets really high, and then they start selling like crazy, and the price starts to go down.
Yeah.
And Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd do. They start driving the price down, and the Dukes start to notice, like, why is the price going down? Because all the commodities brokers around noticed that the Dukes were buying like crazy.
Yeah.
So they're expecting it to drive
picking
up.
up on that. Yeah.
And so they start selling, and then the report comes. And the report is the exact opposite of the false information that they had given the Dukes, that there was going to be a bad orange harvest. So they wanted to drive the price up super high so that when they sold, they would sell for that high price.
Right.
Well, then when the report comes out, it turns out that there's going to be plenty of oranges. The
Yeah.
frost didn't affect the crop, and everybody now wants to get out from under what they've purchased. And the way futures work, it's very strange. It's like, I'm selling 2,000 pounds of oranges at the price listed. So they start buying at $142 cents a pound at 2,000 pound orders.
Yeah.
It's really crazy and like convoluted.
Like,
But they end up basically. Trace, like, what the hell? But they end up basically driving the price way down by selling out everything they've got, and now everybody wants to get out from under these orders that they've put in at this super high price.
yeah.
So they wait for it to get down super low, and then they start to buy,
Everyone.
and they won't buy from the Dukes.
Yeah, because
So they're buying from everybody, and the Dukes want to sell. And the Dukes realized what was going on, and they started making their way down to
Into the
try and
pit.
get their guy to stop buying and start selling. Just sell.
Yeah.
And he ends up collapsing himself, their trader, and gets carried
I did
out.
like that part,
And they're
yeah.
like, when they get down there, and Mortimer's like, "What are you doing? Get back in there and sell!" and then they're trying to get in, and
he's
right
like
as they
unconscious.
yeah,
right?
he's like out, done. He gets like trampled, and they're like, right as they get in there and they're trying to get in there to sell, the bell goes off, and that closes trading for the day.
Yeah.
And now you have to close out your trades at the end of the day. And
How much do they owe? 300 and something.
the guy,
$317
the head of the
million.
exchange comes over and says, it's time to make good. And he's like, do you really think that we have $349 million in cash on us?
Oh,
and he's like,
God.
well, freeze their seats on the exchange.
Yeah.
All assets of Duke and Duke, and
Yeah.
all personal assets of Mortimer and Randolph Duke. And this is my favorite part of the whole movie. Randolph starts to have a heart attack. He collapses onto the ground, and they're screaming, "You can't do this! Reopen it. Get those guys back in here.
those machines
Turns
back
those machines
on."
back on." And the head of the exchange goes, "My God, Mortimer, your brother, he's ill. He needs help." And he goes, "Fuck him! Turn those machines back on." Okay, so this guy I can't remember the name of the actor that plays Mortimer,
I'll hold him up.
but he's
Yeah.
a famous actor from back in the day.
He's in the golden age of Hollywood.
Right.
He's been in a lot.
He'd
of
been
stuff,
in a
yeah.
ton of movies and everything, and he had never cursed on screen. And he, meeting with John Landis before they did the movie, he had to say the Negro lines.
Don Amici.
Don Amici,
Yeah.
fantastic actor.
Yeah.
Has to say these lines, and then it comes to using that word, and he says, "I can't do that."
And that's
he
the word
says,
he has a problem with.
"Well, he had a problem with the other,
Yeah, I know,
with the
I
other
know,
words
yeah,
too."
But I think once Eddie
And
Murphy was like, it's okay.
and if you look at those scenes, it's like one person in the room with him.
Yeah.
So it's like a little bit, he can get away with it, like in front of him, like in front of Randolph Hearst.
Yeah.
Randolph Hearst, not Duke. But so when it came time for him to say this line, he tells the assistant director, "Hey, can you get everybody's attention?" So he calls in everybody, all 300 extras, everybody.
Wow.
And he says, "Just so everybody knows, I'm going to have to use profanity in this next scene. Yeah, he was like that worried about using the F-bomb, and I'm throwing it around on the podcast like it's going out of style. I was just like, wow, no, that's class right there.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so I thought that was really interesting, and that's like the funniest part. It's just
I
like,
did love that line where he yelled,
turn those machines back on. Turn those machines
My
back on.
favorite part is jump cut to Billy Ray and
Yeah.
Lewis in like
Well,
great-
because they're standing there, and they're like, they're counting their,
Yeah.
they're going through their cells and stuff.
Can I say that whole experience of like when they go sell everything and like 400
Dude.
people turn? That's my
Dan Aykroyd
nightmare.
and
Dude, and they're just like,
yeah.
But imagine that
Absolute nightmare.
every one of these little movements is
Yeah.
making you like millions and millions
Yeah.
and millions and millions of dollars.
maybe
You're like,
that's the one part.
you're
Where
like,
it's like you feel
bring
good.
it on.
Yeah. I'll take this for another hour. Let's go.
Phenomenal cosmic power.
I'm a karate man. Uppers on the inside. It's fine.
And I love how like Dan Aykroyd is like doing these fast motions, and then it goes to you look at Eddie Murphy, and he's like, so
Yeah. So.
But the best part
That's
is
true.
it jump cuts to them after all this is over for the final scene of the movie, and they're on like a beach in like Hawaii or like Grenada or something somewhere, and he's like, "What do you think? What do you think? Should we have crab or lobster?" And he's like, "Why
yeah,
not?"
Coleman, who's there with the beautiful woman.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and Coleman, he asks his girl, and the girl's like, "Why not both?" So he turns around and he's like, crack crab and lobster for everybody. Fantastical, good idea, Mr. Coleman. And the guy like
Fantastical.
sprints off the beach, and you look out, and it's Jamie Lee Curtis and Lewis, Dan
On the
Aykroyd's
yacht.
character, on the yacht.
Yeah.
And it cuts to him, and he goes, "Looking good, Billy Ray." And it cuts to, "Feeling good, Lewis." And he's doing the like.
Oh
So
my gosh.
awesome, man! But I love that the scene where what I was talking about, where they're sitting there and they're counting all the things, and the dukes
Yeah.
are like, "What the hell are you doing here? What did?" And they said, "Oh man, hi, yeah, what's up, guys? How'd you do today?" And they're like, "We did
good
pretty
Eddie
well." He
Murphy.
goes, "What?"
That's a good Eddie Murphy. Keep going.
Thanks. He goes,
Can't do normal.
He
Go
goes,
ahead.
he goes, "Oh, Lewis here made me a bet that we couldn't
Oh, yeah.
make ourselves millionaires and put you in the poorhouse at the
Poorhouse.
same time. Looks like I lost." Oh, and he goes, "Oh, here you go, Lewis." Like pops the dollar and hands it to him. It's like so perfect. And then when this like later on they put Eddie Murphy and Landis work together again on Coming to America, one of Eddie Murphy's best known movies. Which that movie is so funny
That
too. We'll
movie
have to
is
do that one.
Hilarious through and through. Yes.
And this was one of the first like
callbacks.
universe
Yeah, yeah.
movies that I've
Yeah.
actually that I can remember, where Arsenio Hall plays his like butler, is his the prince's hand,
Yeah.
and like Game of Thrones, and he would like that, and he calls home and gets all the money sent, and then Eddie Murphy gets all pissed off, and he's like, "No, the whole reason was to come here and live like a normal person. I would like without all this crap, get rid of it all, sell it all." "Well, what do you want me to do with the money?" He's like, "Give it away." And he's walking down by the bridge, and he just like there's two bums sleeping, and he drops this big bag of money on them.
That's right.
And they pull their head up, and it's Randolph and Mortimer Duke.
Yeah.
And he's like, Mortimer, look. And he's like, "Randolph, we're back."
Yes.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh my God, it's the guys from Trading Places." So awesome, man.
I love this. No, it was a fun movie. It's a classic. It's. I mean, you do worry about. I think they do a callback at the end with like, wait, what happened to the guy we locked in the gorilla?
And they're
with
loading him
horny
on the
gorilla?
ship to Africa.
And they're putting him on a ship down. And that poor dude, which I was like,
Poor dude.
It was like you look at the gorilla.
The guy's a terrible person, just like
he's
the
a
Dukes.
terrible person, absolutely right. But like the whole thing where it's like, dude, that's a guy in a costume. Like, how many idiots are like handling this thing
Yeah.
from port to port, and not realizing, hey, that gorilla looks like a guy in a really cheap costume. Maybe.
Whatever.
Yeah,
Roll with
not
it.
a
It's like the
gorilla.
blackface thing. It's all for comedy. Let it happen.
Oh my god!
Let it
yeah,
nobody's trying to be offensive.
No, it's not trying to be. It's just it's just hard. But
Man.
no, man, I just like
I think
yeah.
this movie is so funny. So
It's still
good.
funny. It's still fun. I enjoyed
Yeah.
it. Yeah, I did enjoy it. And it was weird as like thinking of it as a Christmas movie. I was like, yeah, yeah, okay, Christmas movie, sure. But like, it's not the center of it. It's not like, oh yeah, we have to make this before Christmas or something.
New Year's is a big thing
Which is
because
the
that's
New
when the
Year's,
trading is.
Which
Yeah,
plays
it's kind
into
of like
this.
where the holidays just kind of happen.
Well, I mean,
to
he
the
dresses
movie.
as Santa in the thing.
That's what I'm saying.
Jamie
Right.
Lee Curtis is decorating her tree when Eddie Murphy busts in. Like,
Yeah.
it's there. Like, you can definitely
Yeah.
tell.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
that's what I mean. Like, it feels like the holidays just kind of happen in the movie. They
And they're
have
in
nothing
Philly
to
in the
do with
middle
it.
of
Not the
freaking
focus.
December, so it's cold
Oh,
as all
dude.
get
Yeah.
out.
Oh my gosh, dude! I did one winter up there and I couldn't do it in the Northeast.
Never
And-
seen snow.
Never done it. No, that should be like one of our episodes. That should be our Christmas gift to you.
Tyler seeing snow.
Let's go do a live show somewhere like in Colorado.
We'll go to Chicago.
Yeah, let's go to Chicago. We'll do a live
go to
show in a
mountains and go
club,
skiing.
and we'll do
We'll
some.
go
yeah.
see. We'll go
going to
see
Canada.
Gooch. We'll go see Chicago.
Yeah, man. He's up there. He'll probably give some advice what to do. And
Just don't get on his roof.
Don't eat the yellow
get on
one.
that
You know,
guy's
it's
roof.
not the good snow.
Oh my gosh.
We'll go to Harry Carey's restaurant. Would you eat the Moonfields made spare ribs? I know I would.
Oh man, is there anything else you guys want to share about this film? Well, the one thing I had to share was that Frank Oz, who is
Yeah.
Yeah.
one of the actors
He's
from the
he's
Muppets.
Landis's good luck charm.
He's the good luck charm. He's one of the corrupt cops. Apparently,
Yeah,
is
he's
this
the
whole
one that
thing.
finds the PCP on him, and he's going through all this stuff. But yeah, apparently, he's in like most of Landis's movies, and the one movie that he wasn't in was like a nightmare to film.
Oh, really?
They had a ton of production issues and problems, so he always includes that. And then there's a scene also when they're in Jamie Lee Curtis's apartment, and the famous scene with her boobs in it. In the background, there's
Jamie Lee Curtis and her boobs.
yeah, there's a
separate
there's a
entities.
poster on the wall, like a movie poster.
Yeah.
and it says "See you next Wednesday,"
Oh, okay.
and that is like a running thing in all of John Lance's movies. There's like scenes where posters or references to the movie "See you next Wednesday,"
Huh.
and it's a line from 2001: A Space Odyssey that he thought would make a good movie title, and he wanted to make the movie "See You Next Wednesday," but
okay.
never did, and he just includes it in all of his movies. It's in like the Blues Brothers.
That's a cool
It's in-
cameo. I need to.
Yeah.
I need to. Cool callback. Sorry, not cameo. I need to.
Yeah.
I need to go check that out. In
That
his
one
stuff.
poster makes a cameo in every movie.
I think it's in.
Everyone,
It's the same poster.
Yeah, it's in Animal House, Blues Brothers, Trading Places,
Oh, dang.
Coming to America. It's in like all his
Wow.
his movies.
Zip. Get it?
Dude,
Oh, man.
him and John Candy, man,
Yes.
and Chris Farley,
no, we can do a whole month on John Candy. John Candy
and John Belushi too. Like just
So good.
people we lost
Yeah.
too soon.
Yeah.
But yeah, Dan Aykroyd was supposed to do Saturday Night Live, I think, and couldn't make it for whatever reason. And I think it was him. It may have been Nick Nolte when they did 48 Hours or like Beverly
yeah.
Hills
Eddie
Cop
Murphy,
after
yeah,
that. Because
yeah.
this was only Eddie Murphy's second movie. 48
yeah.
Hours had just come out when they went into production for Trading Places. But Nick Nolte had to back out, or whoever it was that was supposed to host Saturday Night Live had to back out. And Eddie Murphy became the host of Saturday Night Live. And I think it was definitely the first time, maybe the only time in history that an active cast member
Was the host
has
of SNL.
hosted SNL because he was
wow, dude.
becoming such a big movie star while he was still active on the cast.
Dude, Eddie Murphy changed the game for a lot of that. Like in terms of like bringing a comedic actor and from a sketch series. Like you have
Yeah.
to think of like in the tier of Hollywood, like where those things fall. Like that premiere, like it's spaces to a television based sketch series. The fact that he rose to that kind of Hollywood stardom, that anything he was in became a block.
And I mean, they were just different back then.
Yeah.
Like Saturday Night Live was different back then.
totally
Like,
different game, totally different era.
the
But
players on that show, and like so think of how many people from that era of Saturday Night Live went
Yeah.
on to be like have these incredibly long careers in movies, and
Even right after them, like the early '90s people, like Sandler and Farrell.
Yeah.
definitely. But
and Sandler,
and then
we-
it just went into the garbage, and now like you might not don't
Fallon's
ever
probably
bother.
like the last big one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and found out that he's like a terrible version.
God, I hate Fallon. I'm sorry. I'm
He's
gonna say it.
he's an alcoholic
And
apparently.
I've been mistaken for Fallon. I don't know why, but like people, I was at a Target one night in Georgia. and
You spend
someone
a lot of
walked up
time
to
in
me.
Target.
I am in Target a lot.
Okay,
It's my
cool.
safe place. All right, just let it be. All right, let me have my
It
thing.
hugs me like a warm blanket.
No, and I was at Target and someone
Don't judge
she
me,
was like,
Mikey.
"I thought you were Jimmy Fallon." I was like, "I hate that person, but why did you think I was Jimmy Fallon? She was like, I don't know, from a distance. And I was like, damn it.
I do think he's had some really funny sketches on his show, but that's more writing than.
Yeah, it's
than
more
anything.
writing than
That's
it
more
is.
Dude,
Justin
the friggin-
Timberlake. That's Justin Timberlake.
Dude, that.
The camp scenes with the hashtag thing, but the,
Dude, and then
they do those
Questlove at the end.
hashtag shut the fuck up.
Shut the fuck up.
They do like those camp scenes where like they do
On
like,
SNL.
The
though.
Bee Gees.
yeah, where like they
Or
sing.
Africa, Toto.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did.
And the guy comes in and he's like, "You're gonna lose your snack privileges."
Oh, yeah, like the pedophile,
Yeah.
like camp director guy or
And
counselor.
he's like, because
That
we can
hits
see your
that
nuts.
hits close to home.
God. Maybe I shouldn't say I hate Jimmy Fallon. Maybe just say he's not my cup of tea. He's just not
There
my
you go.
guy. He's not my guy.
Yeah, hate's a
Anyway.
strong
I
word.
just heard he's like very
Hate's strong.
short with
Hate's
people
strong.
and all that, but I mean, I don't know. I don't
He's
live
no
that
Ellen.
life, so I don't. It's true.
All right, man. Well, I think this wraps it for Trey's Place. Definitely one I would go watch and check it out because it's of an era. You know, it really is of.
I mean, let
it's
go of
its
let
times.
go of the stupid stuff. Like
Yeah.
like I said, take it as it's a joke. It's supposed to be funny.
Take it as is.
yeah,
What
nobody's
it's supposed
trying to be offensive in these movies.
Yeah, and you gotta admit, I mean, Dan Aykroyd's Jamaican accent's pretty on par. I mean, it's all right.
Dude, when they do like the blah, 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 hey, that's so funny, man.
But no, I think it's good. And anyways, this is a wrap on our first season of Nostalgia Land.
Yeah, we'll have a new studio.
New
come
studio. We're gonna work on some stuff. We're gonna revamp. We're gonna take a couple weeks off and
Yeah, we don't know if the new studio will be ready right when we come back.
Yeah, but we'll figure it
hopefully
out.
we might have it up and running
yeah.
by then.
Yeah, but we're gonna yeah, exactly. So I can't thank y'all enough for those who have watched and subscribed, who've taken the time to listen to our stupid, our stupid conversations, around the world too. We've had several people, even from the UK as well, come on and be like, hey,
awesome.
like they really love, what you guys are doing and the energy. So I can't tell you, thank you enough. Thank you for being a part of this. And yeah, as always, you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and at nostalgialand.com for our shop, as well as Etsy, Nostalgialand shop. And I'm Matt.
I'm Trey.
I'm Tyler Calabunga. We appreciate you guys.